Everyone thought the story ended the night the homeless girl saved the billionaire's life. But they were wrong. Because what happened after he opened his eyes in that hospital room shocked everyone. The man she saved wasn't just grateful. He was searching for her. The same girl the world called a thief was about to receive something no one could have imagined. But when his team finally found her, she was gone. And what they discovered about her past changed everything. This wasn't just a rescue story anymore, it was something much bigger. She was a homeless plant seller. Dirty dress, no voice, no protection. He was a billionaire, respected, untouchable. She grabbed his wrist in public and ripped off his watch. She said it was cursed. She said his best friend paid for his death. He didn't believe her until his house was searched. The watch vanished, and the man who wanted him dead decided to kill her instead. Raymond stared at the watch in Lola's hands like it was no longer metal, like it could speak. His wrist felt strangely light without it. Around them, people slowed, security men pretending not to stare, drivers watching from behind glass. But Lola wasn't watching anyone else. Her eyes stayed locked on his face. Wide, afraid, real. How do you know? Raymond asked again, quieter now. The anger in his voice had thinned into something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Lola swallowed. Her chest rose too fast. Then she spoke barely above a whisper. Sir, I see things before they happen. Raymond scoffed. You're hallucinating. She didn't argue. She stepped closer instead, lowering her voice. Did you give this watch to anyone recently? The question hit him like a misplaced step. Yes, he said. Why? Who? My friend. My manager. Ken. Something changed in her face. Raymond noticed. Ken is my childhood friend. Lola's fingers tightened around the watch. They did something on it, she said. Something not clean. Raymond laughed sharp and dismissive. You're saying my friend cursed my watch. Lola met his eyes, didn't blink. If you wear it, she said softly, you will die? The air tightened. Raymond's jaw clenched. You expect me to believe that? Sir, Lola replied quietly. I didn't say shrine. You did? His stomach turned. So there's a charm in it, he asked. Yes, and it works with time. What time? 3 days, she said. After that, you will fall. No warning. People will call it natural. Raymond's mind flashed to Ken's voice from the day before. Bro, can I wear your Rolex? This is nonsense, he muttered. Lola stepped closer, leaned toward his ear, and whispered. Raymond stiffened. What did you say, he asked. Not here, she replied. You will know what to do. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw fear that didn't beg and didn't perform. I'll do what you said, he said finally, not because he believed, but because ignoring her suddenly felt dangerous. If I need to find you, he asked. I pass this route every day, Lola said. Around one. Raymond nodded. She placed the watch into his palm like it was alive. Please, she whispered, don't wear it. Then she turned and disappeared into the Legos heat. Raymond stood there, the watch cold in his hand. For the first time in his billionaire life, he felt unprotected. The club was loud enough to drown thought. Bass thumped through the walls, through the floor, through bone. Colored lights swept across sweating bodies packed tightly together, flashing red, blue, then white. Bottles clinked. Glasses were raised. Laughter burst and dissolved into music again. Ken stood in the middle of it all. His jacket was gone. His shirt sleeves were rolled up. A glass of whiskey sat heavy in his hand as another bottle was opened nearby. Girls pressed close to him, perfumed, laughing, leaning into his shoulders as if they belonged there. One sat on the arm of his chair. Another whispered into his ear. Someone shouted his name over the music. Ken. He lifted his glass high. Anything you want tonight, he shouted back. Drink. The bill is on me. Cheers exploded around him. A waiter nodded quickly, already moving. More bottles appeared. Someone poured without asking. Money flowed easily tonight. Too easily. Ken smiled. On the outside. Inside. The music faded. He watched the room like a man standing apart from it, even as it moved around him. Faces blurred. Laughter stretched too long. Everything felt slightly delayed, as if he were already watching this moment from the future. Tomorrow, that was the word that kept repeating in his mind. Tomorrow, Raymond would be no more. The thought settled into him like a deep breath after a long run. He imagined it clearly, not the death itself, but the aftermath. The phone calls, the shock, the stunned silence in the office. The way people would turn to him instinctively looking for direction. He imagined himself standing straight, calm, responsible. The new CEO, the company would need restructuring, of course. Raymond had been too soft, too sentimental. Ken already knew what he would change, which departments would go, which people would stay. He could see the boardroom, hear his own voice filling it. This was not greed, he told himself. It was correction. Someone laughed loudly beside him, pulling him back. A girl danced closer, swaying to the rhythm, her hand sliding across his chest. "Why are you not dancing?" she asked, shouting over the music. "You look like someone who just won the lottery." Ken blinked. For a second, the room snapped back into place. He smiled easily, the way he had practiced for years. "I'm fine," he said, "just enjoying the night." She laughed and pulled him up. He danced with her then, moving because that was what was expected. The music carried him. The lights blurred again, but even as his body moved, his mind stayed elsewhere. He wasn't celebrating a promotion. He was celebrating an ending. Another drink burned down his throat. He welcomed the heat. It matched the fire in his chest. Somewhere beneath the noise, a small voice tried to rise. Something old, something cautious, but he drowned it quickly. Raymond had everything. And tomorrow that would change. The club roared louder as the DJ switched tracks. Ken threw his head back and laughed with the rest of them, raising his glass once more. To anyone watching, he was just another successful man enjoying a night out. No one could see the hunger behind his eyes. No one could hear the sentence repeating in his head. Steady and sure. It's done. Morning came quietly. Raymond stood before the mirror, tying his tie with the ease of a man who had done it thousands of times. The room was calm. The air smelled faintly of cologne and polished wood. Outside, the city was already awake, but in here everything felt controlled, familiar. He reached for his wristwatch. His fingers hovered above it. For a moment, nothing moved. Then a voice surfaced in his mind. Soft, urgent, low. "Lola." He couldn't hear the exact words anymore. Only the weight of them, the seriousness, the way she had leaned close, breath trembling as if the truth itself was too heavy to speak aloud. Raymond stared at the watch. Ken's face flashed briefly in his thoughts. Childhood laughter, shared struggles, trust built over years. Then something darker followed. Greed, obsession, the way Ken had insisted, the way his eyes had lingered. Raymond exhaled slowly. He let his hand fall away from the watch. Instead, he picked up his briefcase, straightened his shoulders, and walked out of the room with his wrist bare. He did not know it yet, but that simple decision had spared his life. Across the city, Ken stood before his own mirror. He smiled at his reflection, adjusted his collar, smoothed his shirt, admired himself like a man already tasting victory. Later, CO in town, he muttered under his breath, a grin spreading across his face. In his mind, the company was already his. The officers, the authority, the respect. He imagined how people would stand when he entered rooms. How decisions would no longer pass through Raymond first. Today was the day. There was no doubt in him, no fear, only certainty. He left his apartment unhurried, satisfied, believing the future had already bent in his favor. Ken arrived at the office late on purpose. He expected a different atmosphere. He expected silence, shock, whispered conversations, maybe tears. Instead, the compound buzzed with life. Staff walked briskly across the parking lot. Phones rang. Laughter floated from somewhere near the reception. Everything was normal. Unease crept into him. He stopped a passing staff member, asked casually if the boss was around. "Yes," the assistant replied easily. "He's in his office." The words landed wrong. Ken's heart skipped. No, that wasn't possible. He walked quickly now, his confidence draining with every step. When he reached Raymond's office door, his hand hesitated on the handle. Then he opened it. Raymond sat behind his desk, focused on his computer screen, alive, breathing, working. Ken froze. For a second, it felt like the room tilted, like he had stepped into the wrong reality. Raymond looked up and smiled. "Ah, Ken, you're late today. That's unlike you." Ken tried to speak. The words tangled in his throat. "Oh yeah," he managed. "I had a fever last night." Raymond nodded, already returning to his work. Ken's eyes drifted downward to Raymond's wrist. There his breath caught. Since when did Raymond not wear his watch? Ken leaned forward slightly, unable to help himself. "You forgot your watch?" Raymond glanced at his wrist. Oh, that I forgot it this morning. Ken frowned. You don't attend meetings without it, especially not with the Chinese investors. That watch speaks for you. Raymond leaned back in his chair, studying Ken now. Really studying him. It's just a watch, he said calmly. I'll be fine. Ken swallowed. I can go get it for you if you're busy. That was when Raymond knew. He straightened. His voice remained calm, but his eyes sharpened. Why are you so concerned about a watch? Ken laughed quickly. Too quickly. I'm not. I just thought I don't think I'll be wearing it for a while. Raymond interrupted. Silence stretched between them. Ken forced a smile. You're the boss. Your decision. He turned and left the office, his steps faster than when he arrived. Raymond remained seated. The pieces clicked together with painful clarity. The insistence, the timing, the fear in Ken's eyes. Lola had been right. He checked the time. 1:00 p.m. Raymond stood up immediately and headed outside. Lola was walking past the office gate, her tray balanced on her head. Buy your ripe sweet plantain. Raymond rushed toward her. Lola, she stopped, startled. It's true, he said quietly. Everything you said. She looked at his bare wrist and nodded once. He wanted you to wear it today, she said. Raymond's voice broke slightly. My best friend. The heart of man is deep, Lola replied. Sometimes evil hides where love used to live. What do I do now? Raymond asked. She hesitated, then spoke carefully. If he confesses, he can still be helped. If you destroy the watch, he will lose his mind. But for now, hide it somewhere no one can find it. He will try to steal it. Raymond nodded slowly. Thank you. You saved my life. He offered her money. She refused at first. He insisted, then placed a phone in her hand. For emergencies, he said. Lola stared at it. The first phone she had ever owned. That night, Raymond locked the watch inside a safe, secured it with a password, and hid it when no one would think to look. Across the city, Ken sat alone, whiskey in hand, fear finally replacing certainty. Tomorrow he would return to the shrine because something had gone wrong, and death had refused to happen. Ken lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned lazily above him, counting each rotation without meaning to. This was the 4th day. The 3rd day had already passed, and Raymond was still alive. The thought pressed heavily on his chest, making it difficult to breathe. His eyes traced the slow movement of the fan round and round, as if time itself had decided to mock him. Everything that was supposed to happen had not happened. The silence was wrong. The calm was wrong. There had been no call from the office, no frantic messages, no whispered news moving through corridors. The world had not reacted the way it should have. Ken pushed himself upright and swung his legs off the bed. His head throbbed faintly, not from alcohol or exhaustion, but from something deeper, a growing fear he refused to name. He reached for his phone. After a brief pause, he dialed his assistant. I won't be coming in today, he said, keeping his voice steady. Doctor's appointment. I didn't sleep well. There was concern on the other end, but Ken ended the call quickly. He could not afford questions. Not today. He stood in front of the mirror and studied his reflection. He looked the same, but something behind his eyes had shifted. By mid-morning, Ken was already on the road, driving far beyond the parts of the city that still felt familiar. The buildings thinned. The traffic loosened. Green swallowed concrete. The farther he went, the quieter it became until the only sound left was the hum of his engine and his own breathing. The shrine did not look welcoming. It never had. Ken stepped out of the car, the air heavy with dampness and decay. Inside, the smell of earth and smoke wrapped around him instantly, thick and suffocating. The native doctor sat exactly where he had before, unmoving as if he had never left. Ken didn't greet him. Something is wrong, he said flatly. The old man lifted his eyes slowly. The man still lives, Ken continued. This is the 4th day. The native doctor studied him in silence for a long moment. Then he spoke. Someone interfered. Ken felt a chill slide down his spine. There is a girl, the man continued calmly. She has a gift. She sees before things happen. She touched the path. Ken's jaw tightened. What girl? A plantain seller, the native doctor said. Poor, quiet, easily overlooked. Ken's fingers curled into fists. The old man leaned forward slightly. As long as she lives, the charm cannot finish its work. Ken swallowed. Then remove her. The native doctor shook his head slowly. It does not work that way. She is not the target. She is the shield. Silence stretched between them. And the watch? Ken asked finally. If the watch remains hidden, the man said, your mind will begin to break slowly, quietly. You will doubt yourself. You will lose sleep. You will lose control. Ken felt sweat gather at his temples. And if he breaks it? The native doctor's eyes darkened. Madness. Ken stepped back. So what do I do? He asked, his voice lower now. You retrieve the watch, the man replied. And the girl must be silenced, or the curse will turn on you completely. Ken left the shrine without another word. The drive back was longer than it should have been. His thoughts would not settle. Every familiar street now felt hostile. Every passerby looked like a witness. Somewhere in his mind, an image surfaced. Not of Lola's face clearly, but of her standing beside Raymond outside the office. Her back turned slightly, her posture firm, her presence undeniable. He gripped the steering wheel harder. Back at home, Ken poured himself a drink. He didn't finish. He paced the living room, then stopped abruptly. Raymond had not worn the watch. That was no coincidence. Someone had warned him. Ken sat down slowly, the weight of the truth pressing in on him at last. The plan had not failed. It had been blocked. And now, for the first time since the envy took root in his heart, Ken understood something terrifying. He was no longer in control of how this would end. Raymond's 2-day business trip passed quietly. Meetings blurred into one another. Contracts were signed. Promises were made. He spoke with calm authority the way he always did. His mind focused on work, unaware that something precious was being violated in his absence. Back in Lagos, his house did not sleep. Ken stood inside it long after midnight, the lights off, the curtains drawn. He moved through the rooms with the careful urgency of a man who knew he did not belong there, but felt entitled all the same. He started calmly, the bedroom first. He opened drawers gently, lifting folded clothes, checking beneath them, then placing them back as if nothing had been touched. He checked the bedside table, the wardrobe, the bathroom cabinet. Nothing. His breathing changed. He moved faster now. The study came next. Files were pulled out. Books shifted. Drawers yanked open and left hanging. He checked under the desk, behind frames, inside locked cabinets he forced open with shaking hands. Still nothing. By the time he reached the living room, calm had abandoned him completely. Cushions were thrown aside. The couch was flipped. Shelves were emptied onto the floor. He checked places that made no sense. Places desperation pointed him toward. Sweat ran down his neck. His chest felt tight. Where is it? The watch was not there. When he finally stopped, the house looked like it had survived a quiet storm. Nothing valuable was missing. Yet everything had been touched, searched, violated. Ken stood in the middle of the room, hands on his knees, breathing hard. Something had gone wrong. Raymond returned the next evening. The door opened smoothly. He stepped inside, briefcase in hand, already thinking of the meeting he had missed while away. He took 2 steps and stopped. Something was wrong. Not loud, not obvious, just wrong. A cushion lay where it never did. A drawer sat slightly open. A picture frame on the wall was crooked. Raymond walked slowly through the house. The bedroom, the study, the living room. Nothing was stolen. Everything was disturbed. He did not shout. He did not panic. He sat down quietly, his briefcase still in his hand, and stared at the floor. The realization came without resistance. Ken. There was no anger yet, only a dull ache that spread through his chest. Memories rose uninvited. Shared struggles, borrowed shoes, nights spent dreaming aloud of success they would share. Raymond closed his eyes. He could have called the police. He could have cut Ken off immediately. Instead, he made a decision that said more about him than about the betrayal. He would confront Ken, and he would give him a chance to speak the truth. He lay on the bed, staring into the dark, replaying the same thought again and again, hoping it would change its shape if he looked at it long enough. But it did not. Ken had been in his house. Not a stranger, not a thief. Ken, the friend who had known where everything was, the friend who had known what to look for. By morning, Raymond's hope had thinned into something quieter and more fragile. Still, he dressed carefully, the way he always did. He went to work as if the world had not shifted under his feet. When Ken did not show up, Raymond felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Later that day, Ken sent a message. Boss, I'm not feeling well. Fever since last night. I'll see a doctor. Raymond stared at the screen longer than necessary. He did not reply. Unaware, Ken was already somewhere near the office. He sat alone in his car, Parked several blocks away, the engine off. He had no plan to go inside. He wasn't there to talk. He wasn't there to confront anyone. He was there because something had begun to itch at him. The day Raymond was supposed to die, there had been a disturbance that morning, a delay, a moment he had dismissed too quickly. Now he watched the building from a distance, eyes sharp, mind working. Then he saw her, a plantain cell across the road near the office compound. Tray balanced on her head, torn dress, slow steps. For only a few seconds, Raymond appeared in the frame of Ken's vision, close to her, too close to be accidental. Not long enough to understand, not long enough to hear anything, but long enough to remember. Ken's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. The description the native doctor had given him returned to his mind, quiet and exact. A girl, a plantain seller. Ken reached for his phone. He did not rush. He did not step out of the car. He lifted the phone once and took a photograph, then another. That was all. He lowered the phone and started the engine. Understanding settled inside him without emotion. That night, Ken made the call. The number was not saved. It came through people who did not ask questions and did not explain consequences. The voice on the other end was steady, emotionless. Ken sent the photograph. A young woman, a metal tray on her head. A plantain seller on a busy Lego street. "I need this done clean," Ken said. "No mistakes." The reply came without hesitation. "Consider it done." The man was called Django. By the following afternoon, Django had found her near a construction site. Dust hung in the air. Machines roared. Workers shouted. The street was loud enough to hide anything. The moment Django had a clear view of Lola, he pressed the accelerator. The engine surged. The car sped straight toward her. Lola turned her back. Comment part 3 if you want the shocking continuation of this story.